Madam President, at this time, everyone from the waiting room has been brought into the Zoom meeting.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, if we can call we're just sitting. All right, if we can call the meeting of the City of Tonawanda Council to order, can you please call the roll?
First ward council person is vacant at this time. Nocera.
Here.
Brownstrom.
Here.
Mylum.
Here.
Cook.
Here. All right, Mr. Clerk, I was looking for that prayer.
Should be in your folder.
Awesome, thank you. All right, let's go through the agenda. So just to let everybody know, we have some interviews that are going to take place. We're a little scattered, but we have a couple that are going to take place during our informal and then after our formal. So we have a 6:15 with Jerry Frizzell, a 6:30 approximately Monica Lalanich, an 8 o'clock with Betsy Olka, an 8:20 with Matthew Reiler, and an 8:40 with Dave Nadell. So we'll be doing these in 20-minute increments. And at that time, there's no comments by the public, but I would certainly encourage you to reach out to the respective council members. With that said, let's go through the agenda. All right, minutes. Mr. Rostra. Okay. Questions or comments on that? All right, bills. Do we have any questions or comments on them? Poor Mr. Nocera over here doesn't have a stamp, so he has to sign everything. All right. All right. Next is the assessment recommendation for the Board of Assessment Review to fill Mr. Nocera's term. Mr. Rounstro, you can second it. How's it sound?
So Madam President, who's taking number 3?
Mr. Rounstro.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Then next is the resolution on the mitigation plan, which is quite lengthy. Just the council want that? What the council?
Yes.
Perfect. Everybody go with that? Any questions on that? Okay, right for Roswell. Mr. Nocera?
Absolutely.
Questions on that? Oh, okay, we're breezing through here. Next is the special events application for Green Beer Sunday. If no one objects, I'd like to sponsor that. Does everybody go with that? Mayor, was the issue with the, no, I don't want to call it an issue, but was the question about the size, were those answered?
Answer yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any questions on that resolution? No, okay.
Is there a size limit to this?
Is there a size limit?
Yes.
No, size, I'm sorry. So there was a question from the organization on the sides and if it could be heated and the bathrooms.
And where is this going to take place?
It's going to take at Canal side.
In North Carolina?
No, city side.
What is this time? Gateway here.
Gateway. And then they have other, like the night sells sausages and corned beef.
Every sausage.
What's that?
Every sausage. Yes.
I don't know. I just,
I'd
not
bet.
Italian.
I would bet on it.
Are you looking up?
No, I could.
Oh. All right, anything else on that? And green beer, they're selling green beer, right? All right, then next is resolution 7 for the mayor to sign the contract with Sourcewell and Colden Enterprises to purchase the Spartan Star Series pumper fire truck at a cost not to exceed 600,000.
I'll take it.
Mr. Nocera, questions or comments on that? Okay, yes. Yes. Yes, we made the deadline. All right, then next is a resolution that the city attorney had drafted for the sale of 93 Cleveland Avenue. We did publish this as required on December 30th, January 6th, and January 13th. We need 4 votes for this to go into effect. Questions on this?
The price that wasn't $400 is.
Yes, and also I spoke to the city attorney. The seller is also paying for the search and survey. Yes,
And use land, an extension of his backyard.
correct. Any other questions? If no one objects, I'd like to sponsor that. And then the council, we do not have executive, correct? Exec? No exec? No exec. Mayor, do you have exec? Okay. So then, no exec. All right, let's go around the room before we start our interviews. Mr. Nocera, do you have anything for us?
Just want to thank the citizens who have stepped forward to interview for the open first ward seat. Don't need to say that they are some big shoes to fill, but it's a very important process that we're going to be involved in. And I believe that we should be able to come to a consensus out of the current applicants. So I wish them all well, and hopefully we'll all get together and fill this seat.
Perfect. Mr. Rostroff.
Hey, I'd like to share across, say, a lot of people have come forward, it's great to see this man. It's been people interested in writing here, so it's great to see some people step out. I look forward to talking all of the information. I did want to mention something I'm assigned as the liaison for the LDC. They had the first meeting of the year. I just wanted to comment. I know the perspective was things were a little bit bumpy. After sitting in the first time, I just want to comment that they really seem organized and focused. We're getting some things moving. It's great to see them moving forward. One is they're doing a lot of outreach to the community businesses. They're in the process of working together to meet and greet bring businesses how to do, how to work. And they are in the beginning processes of executing the zoning project that they have started.
Oh, that's great.
There's some questions. I think there's some things that have been changed since the last time, and especially with some things like that. So, but ultimately, that goal of entertainment downtown district is important to move forward with the whole perform code. Kind of get a basic template. So interested businesses can kind of come in and put off boxes, sure that they're doing the right things to the area. So it's great to see you moving forward with that. More I'll share with the council and the residents.
All right, thank you.
Madam President, Mr. Rautenstrau is kind of muffled, so just make sure we're talking into the microphones as close as possible.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Council. Mr. Mylum?
Nothing at this time.
Mayor?
I will wait to the end.
Okay. What do you want us to talk about? Yeah, good. Yeah.
We do, Bill, we took into consideration what we talked about in my office in regards to the matrons and also the crossing guards. And in the conversation with the council, since it's not going to be it's not going to hurt your budget whatsoever. We agree with your concerns in raising those up. I think that's a really good thing. I mean, they can go to McDonald's and get a job at McDonald's for cheaper than that. For more money than what they make there. So I think it's very important that you come forward any situation like that, because we've got to make it a better situation, in your jail area, and also for the crossing guards. I mean, let's face it, making $9 an hour is not something that I would consider a job that I would like to go to. So it was a consensus right across the board. So we will take care of it on this end. But thank you for bringing that up. That's very important.
Yes.
Did you have any other questions or anything to add, Bill? I don't think you do.
So what we would need, it's budgeted, but what we would have to amend the pay rate.
Yeah,
So-
we would have to amend it.
So
So
it would be a council resolution.
Yep.
I don't know what the proposal is.
send me the proposal, so I have it, break down what you had. And what I would do is give it to the Madam President and let her shoot all of us. And then we'll put it through as a resolution and you're all done. Sound fair?
Yep.
Okay.
Chief, do you know what the proposal is, just so,
Yeah, if you want, so right
Yes.
now matrons make $12.49 now. Minimum wage is $12.50. The city's allowed to pay less than that.
correct?
So the problem with that job is that there's no set hours. So most of the phone calls come at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday or Friday night that they have to make themselves available to come in and guard the prisoners. One of the biggest liabilities we have is a prisoner doing something to themselves in the cell block. So it's an important job. What came to light is when I saw that the summer house, deservedly so, got the raises, and I looked at, no offense to them, but if the lifeguard's gonna make $19 an hour and we're paying people who are actually in charge of saving lives, so to speak, to keep an eye on these prisoners, they deserved it. Secondly, I can't get anybody to do it. We're down to 2 people right now. One of them has a full-time job, so their availability is very limited, and the second one is a full-time college student, which makes it very limited. And when I don't have a matron to watch the prisoner, we have to pay, usually it is a dispatcher, which is at time and a half. So what happened though is with bail reform a couple years ago and COVID, the amount of people being locked up has been drastically cut. So the amount in my budget that's still there will cover these raises, I believe. Now, again, the X factor is coming out of COVID when people start coming back out again. That's why I never said that we cut that a little bit, because coming out of COVID, I don't know what it'll be like. So that's completely covered.
So what is your proposal for the
They
matron?
make $20 an hour.
Okay,
And again, you know, if you go by any sign, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, they're all paying $17 and $18. They have set hours. They know when they're working and they're guaranteed. They can go 2 weeks without getting called, and then they can get called to work 2 overnight shifts. And
Right.
so I think we need a little bit of an incentive.
And then the crossing guards?
So then the crossing guards, you know, they currently make $9 an hour. My suggestion was to go to $12.50. They get 2 hours at each shift. There's a morning shift and afternoon shift, so that would give them $25 to come out and do it. Again, it's not a lot of time, but they ruin their whole day in essence, because you can have a morning shift and an afternoon shift. How I can pay for this is with the reconstruction and reconfiguration. We went from 4 to 3 because of Fletcher School. So they are budgeted for 4. So at this point, at this time of the year, it'll be where I can make that up and not cost us any money. But again, that's a pretty small thing to pay when we're doing $9 an hour.
right.
For people who are helping our kids out. So
Right.
that was the 2 proposals.
So, Mr. Clerk, can you just poll each of the council that they're in agreement for a resolution that we would have on February 1st? The matron, their current rate is $12.49. The proposal is increasing it to $20. And the crossing guard, the current rate is $9 an hour and increasing that to $12.50. We can just poll the council.
No, Sarah.
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum, Cook.
Aye. So, Mr. Reese, if you could just work with the chief on a resolution for this.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, chief. The only thing that I had for around the room, back in, I believe it was September, but council, correct me if I'm wrong, we met with Paige Ben and Brooke Ben, who proposed a dog park in the city of Tonawanda. And she handed us estimates that they had received for a dog park. And I was wondering what the council's interests were in this.
Well, first thing I'd like to remind the council of a major substantial part of this was that they were going to help take care of it.
Right,
That was a huge part of that proposal. And I believe the layout was approximately $16,000 for fencing.
correct.
I'm unaware if this is a project just to do a project, or if this is a project that they wanted to see.
Right,
So my recommendation would be to check with them
okay,
first, because a major portion of that was for them. They were going to help maintain, take care of it.
okay. Oh, yeah, and this would certainly be a lifetime commitment.
The funding was going to come out of their fundraising, correct?
Correct, they were going to do a fundraiser for it.
The only other thing I'd add is just some concerns about safety, insurance, and liability, to make sure that they have that covered. You see a lot of the bike folks being afraid that you have place for them to fail, so have seen a lot of issues with safety of people, safety of dogs.
Right.
People bringing their dogs to parks like these and their dogs not being properly trained and prepared.
Right.
It's often seen as a playground for the dogs and
Right.
runs for them.
Right.
So I think there needs to be some community education on that as well, as far as what's expected of dogs.
Right. I did reach out to Mandy. The location of Eastern Park may not be the most ideal location. So if this is something that we desire, maybe we, explore other locations. But I just wanted to get back to Paige and give her an answer.
Have they reached out?
The mother just asked if there was an update. But I haven't heard from any residents. I haven't heard from anybody.
I believe it merits, at least looking into it and getting some details, back to us so that we could make an informed decision if we're going to move forward with something like that.
All right, I will let her mother know. Okay. Mr. Frizzell, if you could come forward. Welcome, yes. So we have, just so you know, 20 minutes. We're giving each interested person 20 minutes. So I do have a timekeeper here. I wanted you to introduce yourself. Do you know everybody sitting up here? Okay, so this is Councilman Carl Nocera. And then we are also streaming our council meeting via Zoom. So we just want to make sure that your comments are also recorded. And just so the public knows, there is no opportunity for a public comments right now. So welcome, Mr. Frizzell. The floor is yours.
Okay. My name is Joe Frizzell. I live at 91 Walbury Avenue, lifelong resident of the city of Tonawanda. Graduated from city of Tonawanda Senior High School. I am a lifelong I worked for the city of Tonawanda for 35 years. Coming through the ranks, I was union steward, chief steward, and president of the union before taking over the job of department head, which I held for 22 years. I was 25 years traffic and safety board. Currently on the housing authority board. I coached high school sports, Tonawanda High School for 24 years. I was on the Boys and Girls Club. Board of directors. Did I mention the traffic and safety?
Yes. So just in preparations for tonight, I just drafted up a question that I'm gonna ask all the candidates. What do you think the biggest challenge that faces the first ward in the city of Tonawanda is, and how will you handle this challenge?
Right now, I would say the biggest challenge that I would see is the problem we have with flooding here. Seems like every time, my neighbors and I, every time it rains, there's some function. I talk to that, I have to do some function, and other people, we have to do something with it. I didn't address it, oh yeah, I had to address it through, with the mayor. Find some grants or government money. We have to do something. That would be my biggest concern.
Also,
Yeah, I have a quick question. What makes you want to run in the first place and now be appointed? I know you did run in the fall.
I did run in the fall, yes.
And how many votes did you guys about?
I'm sorry,
Approximately how many votes?
almost 400 votes. I think, matter of fact, I think, yeah, almost 400. 390 votes.
So
The reason I ran was because of my experiences with the city. All the years, I've been on both sides of the bargaining table, being the union president and being a department head. When we were department heads, we used to have to come and sit in the front row. It was mandatory. I figured it out. I've been to over 500 council meetings in my years. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I can use those experiences to help the council. I'm not going to say to the council, do it my way, you know, but this is the way I always did it. But I can give them some experience there. That's why I ran. That's why I like books.
Thank you. Okay, good to see you.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, I think one thing that's got to be considered with everybody too is, you know, you've got a second step. It's a appointed position until the special election.
Yes.
So given that you did run, I've got to assume that you're interested in continuing with it if you get on.
I'm already on the lettering.
Son of the endorsement. part.
Yes.
Great. And you did say you've done a lot with labor negotiations.
Yes.
And work with that, so that,
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with now is stuff that I did years ago, because back then things were a little more easy to get.
Sure.
I remember one time we went in, we got everything that we asked for, including the pay raise, everything. We walked out. So, yeah, I've had the experience of dealing with council. I negotiated for contracts.
That was under the previous charter though, right?
Yes, yes, yeah, we used to dealt with the, at that time. Or, yes, I believe the whole time I was there, we dealt with the council. The mayor, before we changed the charter.
97.
The council was in charge of our departments, so we dealt with the council. We deal with the mayor. The mayor was just, not like it is today.
Right. So from what years were you a department head?
I'm sorry.
What years were you a department head?
Well, let's see, I started in 1970.
You started for the city in.
Yes, I started in 1970, so it's 13 years. So so 83 to 90,000.
22 years?
I think
22 years?
it's 22 years as a department head.
Yeah, that was the question. Good evening, Jerry. Nice to meet you for the first time. How are you doing today?
Pardon me?
How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you.
Good, good. Just a question for you. How do you make decisions? And what steps do you take to make those decisions?
Decisions on what?
Well, give us an example of some decisions that you had to make as a department head for 22 years. How did you come to those decisions that you had to make?
Well, it depends on what the situation is. If we have the money to do it. If it was it budgeted, you know, I mean, and then we had to prioritize. We had, at the time, we were taking care of the fire alarm system, we took care of the signals. So it wasn't a day-to-day operation. I couldn't say, today we're gonna do this. It depended on what the situation is. That's how we had it.
So an example of a decision that you had to make that was difficult, but you still had to make it.
Sometimes, well, traffic signals are our biggest thing. I remember the time that council gave me, they wanted to put a signal in front of tops, when they put in the tops. And the council sent me up to the state, and we met with the tops. And I had to make the decision. The council said to me, you make the decision on whether or not we're going to put a signal. Well, you couldn't do this. Could you imagine a signal they occurred would have been disaster? So I had to make that decision. That was me making that decision. And I just did it by prioritizing and thinking that they had this big plan up there. And I'm thinking, you know, I thought for the best of the city, we can't do it. We can't. So that's how I think that is. We used to have to, a lot of times when Mayor Roth was there, she wanted every day. We have to send her facts. On what we were going to do that day. And we sent it to her. The next day I'd send her the same, basically the same thing, and she said, you were going to do that. Well, I'm sorry, but we had something else that came up that's more important. So that's, you know, he had to, I knew how to prioritize my department. What was needed to keep the community safe. If we were painting streets, so one day, well, if the signal fell down, we had to fix the signal. We couldn't paint the street. You know, if we're going to take all our resources to go fix it, we had to fix it. I don't know if that answers your question.
Just trying to answer a great question. Thank you.
Mr. Frizzell, I know you had said to Mr. Rautenstrau, you're seeking the Democratic endorsement to run in November.
Yes,
Are you a registered Democrat or?
I am not.
Okay.
I was not a Democrat when I ran. Well,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
I
that.
was never a Democrat. I am now, I have no affiliation.
Sorry, you didn't need that.
No. It's under. Good.
One more question for you. Just in light of the pandemic and everything that we've gone through over the past years, there's a lot of divisiveness in regards to mask wearing mandates and everything else. Do you have any kind of input as to kind of protect the public and the community safety, supportive better ways to do it?
My family is entrenched with people that work in hospitals, doctors, pharmacists. So we're very aware of what goes on. I would be willing to never- that's never had a nice- I guess that was valid.
Yeah.
But yes, it's. I don't know exactly what you.
I'm just kind of looking through your perspective on it. That's all.
Well, I'm very full.
I didn't hear Mr. Frizell.
Yeah.
Mr.
Oh, I'm
Frizell, can you
sorry.
speak up a little? I
No, he was
didn't hear your last
asking-
comment.
I'm very pro vaccine advance because of the fact, like I say, my family. Healthcare.
And I think what Mr. Rautenstrau was alluding to is the divisiveness on a national level, not, council, our team. I mean, I don't think we do.
Just, you're comfortable supporting public safety.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you do have some time left. So let me ask you this. So you mentioned the flooding in the first ward as being a primary concern.
Yes.
So if there was no flooding concern in the city of Tonawanda in your first ward, what else do you see that you could make an improvement on? And how would you do it?
I would say my phone is here, call me and let me know what you need. I will back whatever, try to back whatever the residents need. The concerns in the first ward, that's all I can tell people. I'll give out my phone or I'll put it on Facebook. Let me know what you think you need.
So while you were campaigning, did any of these residents speak to you about any particular issues that they wanted to have addressed?
I would think the biggest thing, trees. Everybody talks trees. What, a tree this, a tree that. Our sewers, they want to know, messing up their sewer, people want the trees trimmed. I think that's the biggest concern that I heard.
How would you address that then? If somebody's calling you, my trees cost me hundreds of dollars a year, what's the solution for that?
First thing you do is you call the department and do this. I know.
Maybe lost.
You call her and let them do it. She's the department head. The city pays them good money. Let them decide what goes on. They have an arborist. We have a tree trimmer. Let them look at it. If the city says tree's good, well, I'll have to explain that to the residents. I'm sorry, but that tree, we have people that do it. It's not me making the decision. It's not the mayor making the decision. I'm always going to get blamed for it. But it's up to the department. That's why we pay the department. You gotta be able to stand behind the department, whatever it is. That's how I would address it.
Thank you so much for coming. Do you have any closing thoughts, comments, questions for us?
No, I understand that you're gonna, this process will go on for a couple of days. And I'm sure that you're gonna put the person through what's best for the city. And what's needed. It's not. I'm sure whoever you pick. Presentation. Get asked this. Back who we work with, city residents of elected you. That's fun. That's what we provide this process. We will. Yeah, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for coming in. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Purcell.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
16. You said,
All right. All right, Mrs. Lalanich. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming in. So just so you know, we are also streaming our council meeting via Zoom. It's right here. So there are residents that are on via Zoom. If you could just make sure that you speak into the microphone so they also hear as well. And the residents know that there's no public comment during this time, okay? So we're allowing each candidate 20 minutes. Right? So I want to give you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself, but first, do you know everybody up here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, so the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I wasn't aware that I was going to have any announcements before, but I appreciate that. My name is Monica Lunch. I have been a resident of the city of Tonawanda for just about, over 20 years, just over 20 years. And all of that time has been in the first floor, in the same home. I'm actually a neighbor of Jerry's. So thank you for that. And I have been an employee of the city of Tonawanda for about 7 years. And I am proud to raise my husband and raise our 3 kids here. They've been lifelong residents, as has my husband. I don't know that I'm in it for the long haul, but I see there's a need for a short-term representation in our ward, and I think it's interesting. And I think I am ready to be available to step up and to serve my community in this way. I can't commit to beyond the remainder of this period of time, but I'm not opposed to considering. But I'm very interested in becoming more of an active, participatory member of the decision-making body, bringing my listening skills, my observation, my call to do and to serve. So that's why I'm here to present myself as an option for the state at this time.
Great, thank you so much. In preparation for today, I just threw one question out there. I'm asking all the candidates. What do you think the biggest challenge that faces the first ward is, and how will you handle that challenge?
That is a lovely question. And I realistically, I don't know that I know enough about the challenges. I feel that feels foolish, but having lived there and been very active in my own family's life in the first ward, I know that there are challenges throughout the ward. I think it was mentioned the flooding. At the end of our own street, there's significant flooding every so often. But there are many different challenges, and I think it's dependent on the family. It's dependent on the individual and particular time they're going through. What may be emergent, dire in one case may not be for someone else or in another case. I do prefer being available to a point to listen, to appropriately direct and gather information and share that information. So I won't put myself out there as anyone that knows what the challenges are. I just know that there are challenges, people perceive challenges, and I would be a resource.
Great, thank you.
You did touch on that, but at this point, coupled with short-term appointment, and it's being, we haven't sought out an endorsement or moving on. But, the reason I've asked all of them is because of the special election, we getting those endorsements and planning out are within the next couple of months. I am just a little curious if anybody has those long-term plans that move forward. So just wanted to that.
Oh, no, I have not. I just thought this was an opportunity to step up and serve in this capacity. It is a little bit terrifying. I know that you all have lives outside of the political arena, but, oh, yeah, this was new. I didn't know this was happening. So this one, yeah, it's very baby steps.
Just any position.
Yes, yes.
I think you coming from civil service, having an understanding of what the different facets of the city, different parts. I can imagine you have some opinion in regards to public safety, the things that we're dealing with now, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. Just kind of interested in your perspective on public safety. If we're doing great, if we should be doing more or less. Just kind of what your perspective.
I personally long for whatever normal was, but I am realistic and that we are living in a normal. I love that our community is actively seeking out ways to assess our current situation and be mindful of what lays ahead. And I love that our current leadership is aware of that and is constantly trying to do, it appears to me in my viewpoint, we're trying to be realistic with need versus what we're able to support. I think that that's fair and I think ongoing and it's evolving. So I love that they have the community involvement to step up and give some opinion, some thoughtful insights into what was desired. I feel, I being a member of one of those committees, I feel that I was heard. Maybe not every idea can be put into practice, but I do feel that it was heard. I feel it was seriously considered. So I think it's moving in an excellent direction.
Sure. My first question is, how would they feel about being the first of the first board? It's good to see.
Thank you.
I just, real quick question, and you did thank questions. What made you want to be appointed at this time? What made you, I think, if memory serves me, wasn't there a time you threw your head before, or was that for something?
That was for something else.
Okay.
Exactly. Not quite as. Yeah, not like that.
So I guess the question is why this one?
Excellent question. Thank you. Why this? Why now? Because I can. Because there's a need. Because it's too easy to continue to sit on my sofa on those few moments where I do have quiet minutes. Because everyone has a busy life. Everyone has burdens, and this is, like you had mentioned earlier, a time fraught with divisiveness and complacency, and it's an ugly time. And I personally seek ways to combat the ugly and we've all had ugly, and in my own family, with my own husband situation, there's been a lot of ugly. And this is a time where me stepping up, no matter the outcome, it's unknown, and it's quite terrifying, but you all are still making it happen, and you still have lives, and it's exciting. So I just wanted to learn a little bit more, be a little bit more involved, walk the walk and talk the talk that I preach to my own children, to be involved, to be an agent of change when it's needed, and be a thoughtful listener and an active member of the community. So that's what I'm doing. He's doing really well, thank you. Crazy, it's good, it's all good.
Thank you so much for your answers so far. They're very insightful. Thank you. My question to you is not in your personal life, but in maybe like your business or work life. What is one of your greatest accomplishments? Not on the personal side, but your work side.
Greatest professional accomplishments. I am a former teacher. I'm a former municipal civil service administrator, and I am current manager of civil service with a large healthcare organization. Former recruiter, I just recently assumed the title.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I think in all areas of my professional life, the greatest accomplishment is finding common ground, disseminating and educating. In every role that I've been in professionally, I have felt that I have been a patient observer and a researcher of practice, policy, and then applying that or teaching that, helping others to understand it. I feel that that's a strength of mine, is helping others understand the information. So I think my professional successes all tend to revolve around those small moments, sometimes larger moments, of making sure that the information is shared and that it is understood, so that a decision can be made, a step can be taken. So I don't have any grand successes, but I do feel that that is something that links all of my professional experiences.
Thank you. Thank you for being a teacher.
And working in healthcare.
Mm. Yes.
I know you kind of touched up on it in your answer to Mr. Nocera. But what strength do you think you can bring to the community as a council member? And what strength can you bring to the council as a council member?
I guess it's one of those things, you be careful of what you wish for, you might get it. I was a child of an active duty military family, and we moved around multiple times. And the longest I ever lived anywhere was maybe 2 years until I moved to the city of Honolulu. And my gift, my strength would be I'm loyal. And I, like I mentioned, an observer, a researcher. And then I have learned to have a voice. I learned to speak up for not just what I want, but where I see that where others may have a need, but they may not have a voice. I have learned to advocate and kind of shine the light where others may have a challenge, finding light or shine.
Thank you so much. Do you have any more questions? So thank you so much for joining us. Oh, sorry.
So you mentioned earlier that you wanted to get the appointment, but you weren't sure about running in November. So how far on the needle gauge from 0 to 180 are we on, yes, I might consider it if this experience is a positive one, or you've made up your mind that this might just be it? What would it take for you to say, I will run in November, fill out the paperwork and get this all done within the next month or so? What would it take for that to happen?
Thank you for
Because you've thought of it.
that.
Well, you haven't thought of that. Okay.
I really didn't see, that's one of those things where I guess I was curious. My curiosity finally got the better of me. Also, in addition to all those other things, to put my name in here for this and to learn this. So I guess those deadlines do exist. I was not aware. More thoughtful contemplation on that 2-year commitment to continuing that type of service. So it's just a dialogue with my family.
Mhm. Very important to have.
Thank you for your honesty.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very, very insightful.
I plan on putting up with it. So thank you very much.
So I appreciate you coming to talk to us. Do you have any closing thoughts, comments, questions for us?
Oh, no, y'all have been lovely. And no, thank you, truly. And no matter how it plays out, what the resolution is here, I so thankful to have this opportunity. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. All right, so we have a few minutes before we come out on the floor. We're going to take a few minutes for ourselves.
Hey, Madam President, at this time, I will pause the recording and put those individuals in the Zoom call into the waiting room until the formal session begins at 7 o'clock.
Mr. Clerk.
Madam President, I started the recording. I am bringing the people in back from the waiting room into the Zoom meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Sean, you want to lead us in the pledge? You want to lead us in the pledge? Sure. We're not right now. I got to call the meeting and stuff. Yeah, we can change roles. Who let the new guy in?
Madam President, everyone has been added back to the Zoom meeting
Thank you,
We
Mr.
are-
Clerk.
and we are recording.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. If you can call the meeting of the City of Tonawanda Council to order, if you could call the roll, please.
First ward, we have a vacancy. Nocera,
Here.
Rautenstrau,
Here.
Mylum,
Here.
Cook.
Here, if we can stand for the pledge that will be led by Councilman Rautenstrau.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you can please stand. Dear Lord, we're inspired in the newness of the day, the year, and the possibilities. Help us put any futilities of the past under our feet, no more, to not dwell on such. Help us recognize the foundations of substance and to further build thereupon. Thank you for the miracles in our midst, personally and collectively. Surely you are doing a new thing. and it's springing up all around us. Help us to preserve it. You're paving new ways of goodness and life quality and partnered municipal successes in favor. For the greater good of our beloved community and within our neighborhoods, thank you for the victories and successes already experienced this new year. Thank you for the heart of Tonawanda. May we not be afraid to dream. By your spirit, lead, equip, and empower our leadership, our mayor, our council president, and council with confidence, wisdom, and lots of peace too. Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Communications from the mayor have been ordered and filed. Communications from city officials and correspondents have also been ordered and filed. The common council is not going into executive session. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public on the resolutions. For those that are joining us virtually, there is a spot for you to raise your hand and the clerk will call upon you. For those that are joining us in person, please approach the microphone. Any comments or questions on the resolutions? Mr. Clerk, is anyone who is joining us virtually wish to speak on the resolutions?
Madam President, at this time, I do not show anyone looking to make any comments on the resolutions.
Okay. Last call. All right, hearing none, let's roll.
Resolution number 1 by Councilmember Rautenstrau.
Do we have a second? I'll second. Oh, really? We all in unison. Mr. Mylum.
Resolved that the common council minutes for January 4th, 2022 be accepted as filed.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum, Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 2 by Councilmember Mylum.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Nocera.
Resolved that the bills be allowed as audited.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 3 by Councilmember Rautenstrau.
Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Mylum.
Resolved that the recommendation of Dave Morano, city assessor, that Mike Seal of 185 William Street be appointed to the Board of Assessment Review to fill the unexpired term of Carl Nocera, which expires on September 30th, 2025.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum, Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution 4 by the council, seconded by the council. Whereas the city of Tonawanda, with the assistance of tech consultant Tetra Tech Inc., has gathered information and prepared the Erie County Hazard Mitigation Plan, Erie County, New York, September 2021. And whereas Erie County Hazard Mitigation Plan has been prepared in accordance with the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. And whereas the city of Tonawanda is a local unit of government that has afforded the citizens an opportunity to comment and provide input on the plan and the actions in the plan. And whereas the city of Tonawanda has reviewed the plan and affirms that the plan will be updated no less than every 5 years. Now therefore be resolved that the common council of the city of Tonawanda hereby adopts the Erie County Hazard Mitigation Plan as this jurisdiction's natural hazard mitigation plan and resolve to execute the actions in the plan.
Comments or questions? Comment. Mayor, I think you read the plan from cover to cover, right? It's about 2,000 pages. So the plan was approved by the state of New York and was forwarded to FEMA for its final approval. And the city of Tonawanda is required to approve the plan by this council resolution. We must participate in the plan in order to be eligible for FEMA grant in the future. And on behalf of Mark Banks, I just want to thank the following staff that worked on reviewing and updating the plan, which includes Mark Banks, Chief Stewart, Chief McNulty, Building Inspector and Flood Plain Coordinator Eric Lindhurst, Police Chief William Strasberg, Police Captain Jamin Butcher, Engineer Jason Lamonaco, Assistant Fire Chief Chris Close, City Clerk Mr. Jim Casso, Administrative Assistant Charles Gilbert, and DPW Superintendent Joseph Worthling. As of this date, as of yesterday, 203 hours were dedicated to this update. So I'd like to thank everybody for their review. The public had the option to comment through the Erie County webinars, which were held on January 25th of 2021, January 28th of 2021, and May 19th of 2021. And the county public hearing was held on September 8th of 2021. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 5 by Council Member Nocera.
I'll second.
Whereas a special events application was received by the city clerk from Roswell Park Alliance Foundation, and whereas the application was reviewed and commented on by all appropriate department heads to ensure the safety and well-being of our residents, and whereas all the details of the above named event must be coordinated with Police Captain Fred Foles and the event chairperson, now therefore be it resolved that permission is granted to Roswell Park Alliance Foundation to hold the Ride for Roswell Saturday, June 25th, 2022 at 7 a.m. And be it further resolved that any overtime that is incurred during this event will be paid for by Roswell Park Alliance Foundation. And be it further resolved that a certificate of insurance naming the city of Tonawanda is additionally insured be filed with the city clerk no later than June 17th, 2022.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 6 by Council President Cook.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that, President.
Seconded by Mr. Rounstrau.
Whereas an application was received by the city clerk from Gateway Harbor for Green Beer Sunday, and whereas the application was reviewed and commented on by all appropriate department heads to ensure the safety and well-being of our residents, and whereas all details for the above named event must be coordinated with Captain Frederick Foles and the event chairperson, now therefore be resolved that permission is granted to Gateway Harbor to conduct Green Beer Sunday on March 6th, 2022, and close a portion of Broad Street to Main to the new entrance of Canal Street from 12 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. And be it further resolved that a certificate of insurance is on file naming the city of Tonawanda as additionally insured.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 7 by Councilmember Nocera.
Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Mylum.
Resolved that the mayor is authorized by the common council to sign the contract through Sourcewell with Colden Enterprises to purchase a Spartan Star Series pumper fire truck at a cost not to exceed $600,000. Funding and fiscal impact is $600,000 from the 2022 bond.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum, Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 8 by Council President Cook.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, Madam President.
Second by Mr. Rautenstrau.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to forego the reading of the resolution.
We have a motion by Mr. Mylum to waive the reading of Resolution 8. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Nocera. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Resolution 8 by Council President Cook, seconded by Councilmember Rautenstrau.
Right. Comments or questions? I have a comment. I'd like to thank our city attorney for drafting this resolution. I'd also like to thank the late Councilman Newman for really doing the grunt work for this. This was something he was passionate about. And he wanted to get this done. So on behalf of Councilman Newman, it's an honor to sponsor this resolution. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public following the resolutions. For those that are joining us virtually, there is a spot for you to raise your hand and the clerk will call upon you. For those that are joining us in person, please approach the microphone. Okay. Mr. Clerk, anyone who's joining us virtually wish to address the common council?
Madam President, at this time, I do not show anyone from the Zoom call that wants to make any comments at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Hearing none. Mr. Nocera.
Just a couple things, Madam President. Thank you. I'd like to first start out congratulating our DPW getting our streets cleaned so efficiently and quickly after our large snow event that we just had yesterday. And want to mention that we have in progress a podcast that's up and running right now. And we're going to be reaching out to all council members to participate in that. It'll be just what's going on in your particular ward. If you have any good news to share with us, it'll be pretty much non-political. It's pretty agnostic on that sense. So be prepared that we might be reaching out for you guys and just come on in for 10, 12 minutes. It's at Central School at little Frank's office there where we could do the studio recording there. First one's up and running. It's called The Talk of Tonawanda. It's on Podbean. So if you wanted to go on Podbean, download that app, The Talk of Tonawanda. It's very informative. The mayor was on it to kick us off. Some interesting comments from the mayor was happening. Also, we're going to be working on a newsletter, a little one-pager that's going to be going out. Also, again, something that you guys can contribute to would be wonderful. Just a little paragraph, what's going on in your ward, something that you'd be looking forward to, something that's coming up in the future. I'll be posting it up at the library, senior center, city hall, a few other places for the citizens to look at. Continuing on with our mayor's directive that we increase information and communication with the public and our residents. That's all I have for right now.
Thank you, Mr. Nocera. Mr. Rautenstrau.
Thank you, Madam President. Just like to say that sounds really great. I look forward to seeing being part of the podcast and news that it's great to would also like to tag on that's on the face for our work done on the past couple days. Really nice to have some clear streets and my kids be able to go to school. I also just kind of reiterate, I mentioned around the room, Kevin, the first meeting, I think, I'm optimistic that they're heading in the right direction, heading more organized, and really got some great ideas, and it's great to see them acting. That's the thing I look forward to seeing things moving forward. From the new zoning project to also under the deep grade, reaching out to businesses in the area, not just Main Street, but businesses throughout all the city of Tonawanda to kind of see how they can participate, help each other, and do some more work for our city council. We all see to help them with their businesses as well. So I just want to say, if anybody knows anything wants to reach out to them, kind of bring it out to reach out to the council or to local LDC. They have a website, Facebook page. They're really doing a good job of promoting them. Get their themselves up there. Okay. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Mr. Rautenstrau. Mr. Mylum.
Thank you, Madam President. I know I always sound like repeating you because I always repeat everything. But I did actually have, I was out shoveling, snow blowing, whatnot this week. I had some neighbors come up to me to make sure that I passed on and thank you for the job that the DPW did. Every single time we have an event like this, it's amazing to me how well it's done. And if you want to know how well it's done, just cross the bridge into North Tonawanda. You'll really appreciate how well we get it done over here. Last week I had, along with the council president and the mayor, meeting with folks from NSOL concerning the landfill behind Packet Drive. Work is going to begin shortly back there. They've assured us that it's going to improve the drainage in the backyards. I think it's kind of the biggest issue for those folks. Being there in the fall and actually seeing somebody kayak in their backyard was interesting. So that will definitely help them out. We will be contacting residents over a pretty major issue that's going to be coming up for that area. They have offered to put in an 8-foot tall privacy fence for the residents up there. However, you get a say, and it's going to be majority rules. Either everybody wants it or everybody doesn't get it. It's not going to be every other yard or every third yard or whoever wants it gets it, whoever doesn't. So we will be contacting you to let you know, to kind of get your feedback and your input on whether or not that fence should be in your backyard. There's also going to be a complaint line that's going live in the website that I distributed in the fall for those residents. I will add that complaint form directly to that website. And during our call, the focus of that complaint line is going to allow the folks doing the work up there to give real-time feedback to anything that may be happening, whether it's the dump trucks slamming their gates, anything on down the road. There's going to be 2 people monitoring this live in real time so that those issues can be taken care of. That's also a good way to kind of keep track of what's going on for our residents. And last but not least, if you didn't see the news today, I'll kind of piggyback on this, I guess, if you can do that. We had a great event last week handing out COVID tests, but now they can be mailed to you. So you can go online and order them, and I believe you can have 4 of them for residents sent to you through the mail for free. You can order them at 2 places. One is USPS.com/COVID test. So right through the United States Postal Service, or you can go straight to covidtest.gov, and that will take you to the order form as well. I believe you get 4 tests per address. This is kind of what I've been reading, the covidtest.gov is not up and live until tomorrow morning. So if you go there and it says, this is not working, or we can't get this to you, try again tomorrow morning. But other than that, if anybody has questions about the work going on in Hackett, please feel free to reach out. Met with those folks quite a bit. I feel pretty well versed on what's going on up there. So if you have any questions, please feel free. Other than that, warm. I hear Thursday, Friday. Have a good week.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. To that, Mayor, can we put the link to the test kits on our city website?
Yes, we can, absolutely.
Perfect.
We'll get that.
Mayor?
Yeah, just a couple notes. I want to thank the police, fire police, DPW, Tonawanda High School for the hard work, for the distribution, which is kind of we were on uncommon ground when we did this, handing out the COVID antigen test and the masks that were given away last Thursday. But it was run very well compared to the other ones that I saw some catastrophes, fights. But again, kudos go out to all those different organizations, including the emergency response team that we have. It was a great combined effort to get something done. And then we also had the individuals who were homebound, who could not get to the delivery site. They called my office and we broke them up by ward. And each of the councilmen came in and picked up their ward and handed them out personally. And I think that was really something, I've always preached that we don't care if politics does not play a factor in this. Republican, Democrat, conservative, it doesn't matter. If you are in need of something, we got it to you. And proof of the pudding was all these councilmen coming out, they put their time in, including the council president, and they delivered them to everybody's homes. And I thought that was huge. This is how we work together. Thank you. I put into place a common pharmacy also for COVID testing for all employees, antigen test and the PCR test. We needed consistency. We did not have any consistency. And by having that uniformity, we stopped I got 2 days. I can't get my test for 4 days. And then they get 5 days off if they test positive. We were getting a lot of inconsistency. So by having one pharmacy, which is Brighton and Egger Pharmacy, what it did is it's going to help us down the road, and it's going to stop the spending down the road. It's going to save us money. And I thought that was a good thing. It's working pretty good so far. It doesn't hurt the employees. It's still no charge to the employee, but we needed consistency between the response that the individual was getting or the employee was getting from the recommended pharmacies. So I thought that was pretty cool. So we are through, right now at this point, all employees through Brighton and Egger Pharmacy. And I would like to say kudos to Joe Worthling and his crew for the DPW. We were the only city not closed for travel. North Tonawanda was closed for travel. Town of Tonawanda was closed for travel. Grand Island was closed for travel. And I had some people come to my office, Mayor, why weren't you closed? Well, we were closed because we did our job. I communicated with both police chief, Strasburg, and also fire, also DPW head Joe Worthling. I said, what do you want to do? He says, look at Mr. Mayor, our streets are clean. They're clear enough. So unless both Bill and Joe call me and say, I'm going to close it, I'm going to repeat that. Unless Joe Worthling from DPW or Bill Strasburg from police can't get the emergency vehicles down the street, I am not going to close those streets. There's no reason for that. That's their responsibility. And they're going to tell me as the mayor, we need to close them. I will close. But until that happens, I won't do that. And I thought that was something that they needed to hear from me. And that's the way we're going to work it. And I believe in both of those individuals with the work they do. And I have a lot of pride in what came out of this. One of the only cities around here that didn't close up like that. And then the last thing, and Carl brought this up, is the paper. We don't have a town on the news no more. We don't have a local paper. Carl stood up and said, I'd like to do it. So by doing this at the city hall, at the public library, and at the senior citizen center, it gives us three outlets that people can say, what's going on? Geez, a building's going up. They're tearing down 77 where all the little restaurant in the corner there is being tore up. What's gonna happen? God, they're behind Walgreens. It's good. What are they doing? You're gonna know what we're doing, what we're forecasting, and what's coming on down the road. And I think that's really important. It's called transparency. And I want to continue that. And everybody at this front table is on board with that. And I think that's important moving forward, because this way we can at least communicate through the podcast, okay, through this little paper that's going to be maybe a one sheet for a little bit, but then each of the individual council people will have an opportunity to add a little, their 2 cents to it. Okay, I think it's going to be very, very informational and good information on there of where the city is moving forward. Once a month, the last council meeting of each month, and then we'll move forward and send it out. And at least you get an idea what's going on. So again, it's a commitment we made as a group, and I'd like to see us do that. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm being motioned by Councilman Mylum that he has something additional.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on that. We got an email as a council, I think it was last week, from Barbara Tucker about putting things into the newsletter from Meals on Wheels.
Yes.
So might I suggest that we include those folks in this, in getting that newsletter? Because that gets delivered right to their home.
Sure.
So
It's a great idea.
we would not have them have to go out. We could reach out to Barbara and see if, we can just include that with
Very good.
them. And maybe even talk to that first meeting. See what that, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I invited her to be on the podcast in the near future, so she could talk. I invited her to be on the podcast,
Wonderful.
so she could talk about what's going on with Meals on Wheels and
Yeah.
what the expectation was, how you could sign up for it. A little more information out there for the citizens. That's what we're going to be doing.
Great.
That's great. And perhaps we can have Barbara Tucker dust off her, writing skills and
Oh,
her, maybe we could have a Tucker's column.
You never know.
Never know.
Never know.
great.
Anything else, Mr. Brown?
No, that was it.
Yeah, great ideas. I want to give a shout out to the Page family. They received an award from the COT Neighbors United. Their house was nicely decorated on Rogers. So congratulations to them. To piggyback on that, the COT Neighbors United put a list of fun events and activities that they had planned for 2022. So please, like their Facebook page or check out some of the activities that they have planned, but it includes a plant swap on May 15th and a pop-up play date beginning May 21st. I want to congratulate Niagara Hose, who recently celebrated their 132nd anniversary. We truly appreciate everything that you do for the city of Tonawanda. Last week, I had the pleasure in speaking with Leah Gibson, who is the chairwoman of the Board of Selectmen from Foxborough, Massachusetts. The Board of Selectmen is very similar to the Common Council. We had a nice discussion. I ended the phone call with Go Bills, and we all know how that went in our favor. But I really appreciate the time that she took in speaking with me about how our municipalities, although are quite different, they are similar with our pandemic challenges and everything that we are facing. I want to give a kudos to Mayor White, the entire council, Mark Banks, all the emergency management volunteers, Chief Strasberg, Captain Foles, Chief McNulty, the police department, fire department, fire police, and all those that played a significant role in the distribution event that we had last week. I had gotten calls from other elected officials in North Tonawanda and Grand Island just about how their distribution event went. and how we can tweak our event. So we did a phenomenal job. I mean, pat, everybody, pat yourselves on the back. We distributed over 1,500 home antigen test kits, and I believe it was over 7,500 masks. So I know a lot of planning went into this, and I know certainly we were all nervous, but the flow was just perfect. And I'd like to thank Dr. Oldenburg for the use of the parking lot, and just the event just went very smooth. So congratulations to everybody. In addition to the distribution event, the Common Council, as the mayor said, delivered home antigen test kits and masks to our elderly residents or those that had contacted the mayor's office or the council, saying that they just couldn't make the event, whether they were elderly or homebound. And that was something that no other municipality has done to my knowledge. So congratulations, thank you. We handed out over 56 test kits, so great job with that. We are scheduled to be meeting with Kurt Main from KT Construction. He submitted a letter of interest regarding Spalding. I do not see him here as of yet, so that meeting may get pushed back to a future council meeting. You know, it was really impressive to see that we had 8 candidates come forward and expressed an interest in filling Councilman Tom Newman's seat. You know, during a time where many of us sometimes we ran unopposed, or you had a hard time finding a candidate to run. There were 8 individuals that, you know, said, hey, I'm interested. So I know Councilman Newman would be very proud of that. So I certainly thank all of you. This is not a decision that we're going to take lightly. In fact, we're going to meet with candidates today, and then we're going to continue on with some conversations on the 27th. But I really thank each of you for your willingness to serve. And I know this is, you know, a decision that you didn't take lightly either. So I really appreciate that. It's really nice to see department heads at these meetings as well. So thank you very much for the department heads for coming out tonight. And this past weekend, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony at 61.5 Main Street for Timeless Babes. So I want to welcome them to the city of Tonawanda. They owned a shop on Elmwood, and they are very excited to come to the city of Tonawanda. If you have a chance, please check this store out. The flooring is just absolutely magnificent. It's incredible. So with that said, please stick around because we will be meeting with some more candidates as well as hopefully Kurt Main from KT Construction. So thank you. With that said, we'll kind of segue. Mr. Reese, is there anybody in the hallway?
No, I don't.
All right. Okay. So, Mr. Casso, if you could forward me that email that I sent to Mr. Mang, just so we can connect with him again.
I will, yes.
Thank you. And then, you know, stay tuned for another date and time to meet with him. So we do have some candidates here. I know we had budgeted about 30 minutes to meet with KT Construction. I mean, obviously, Mr. Rua, they're not in the back there. I just want to make sure that before I move on. Okay. All right, thank you. Does the council, you know, wish to bring some candidates up and have a conversation? Okay, you're good? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we have 8:20, is Betsy Olka, is she here virtually or? I know she's early, so, but she's next up. She's not here yet.
We're very early.
We're very, very early. So with that said, then I'll call up next in line, which would be Matthew Ryler. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam President, gentlemen of the council, I'm Matthew Ryler. I reside at 34 College Street.
Perfect. No, that's okay. I'm just gonna give the same spiel that I gave to the other candidates. So we've afforded 20 minutes for each candidate. The time has not started yet. Do you know everybody up here?
I'm familiar with the new mayor and Mr. Ron Stroud. I have not yet met Ms. Sarah. I just had the pleasure of meeting this topic.
Okay. So first, the floor is yours for an introduction and open comments.
Like I was saying, my name is Matthew Ryler. I reside at 34 College Street here in the city of Tonawanda. I became a resident here in 1998. From there, went to Highland, graduated up to the city of Tonawanda High School. From there, carried on the proud unspoken tradition of the men that joined the service. Not the Marines, unfortunately, I went to the Navy instead. But from there, I spent my time at the Navy and decided this was home. I had to come back. Loved it. 16 years I lived and I lived all over the country. After that, I had 2 children, both are currently in the Tonawanda education. One is CCD, my daughter in middle school. And I'm a transmission mechanic at Continental Transmission, North Buffalo, where I'm a technician and formula shop.
I'll start. Good evening. Nice to meet you. What about you makes you the best qualified candidate out of the current candidate pool to fill the position?
This city is as much a part of me as I am of it. I'm a current post 264 board member with the Legion of Veterans. I do as much as I can as well as volunteering, the team up cleanup and other various projects around the city of Tonawanda. I would be a good fit for this position because I do have the drive, the ambition. And I, the general know-how. I grew up here. I know many people throughout the city. Chief Strasburg actually took over their program, Mr. Shees. There's numerous other relationships that I feel would benefit this council as far as helping bring together everybody for a council.
Tell us more.
Why I want this position? I love this city. Like I said, I want to further the projects that are already in motion, Canal Street, Main Street project, so on and so forth. And I have the ability to bring people together. Really, that's what it is. Because to bring a mission to its head, I think it's key.
Could you give us an example of how you brought people together in the past to achieve a common goal or complete a project?
Related to the city or just in general?
Sure, in general.
In general, it really started in the Navy. It's where I was drilled to be part of a team, but most importantly, to commit yourself and complete the mission. When I was in the Navy, I was a jet engine mechanic out of Florida, and I was tasked at the midship, which would be midnights, I guess, graveyards, with 5 other airmen and 2 senior NCOs. And I was put in charge of the detailing for as far as tool control. And what tool control was to make sure no tools left behind so the aircraft were clear to fly. I made sure every single night my team knew where every tool was, where everything was accounted for. We fly that mission, no questions asked. And every single night they did not fail.
I'll pass it down.
So I'm sorry, go ahead. So in preparation of today, one of the questions that I'm asking all candidates is, what do you think the biggest challenge that faces the first ward in the city of Tonawanda? And what will you, and how will you handle this?
I can think of 2 things right now. First being, I see the projects going on at Canal Street, Main Street project, as far as what's going on with the best part. All these homes popping up, luxury condos, none of it's in the first floor, other than the recent addition of the Importance project, with the luxury, parking behind that. I see us lagging behind, especially with our Young Street business district. There's no reason why we should have some kind of development like that. As far as they bring in new business or helping out the ones that are already there, bring in new faces. And what I would do to fix that or to try and start something towards that is offer ideas as part of projects. Or working with the bowling alley to get a new fresh paint product and get down the old cow post building so we can start mixing things in. Reaching out to other businesses to bring them in for potential, maybe more apartments or anything, really, any kind of development. But it would bring in the jobs to it. It would bring in more tax revenue. It would bring in, it would benefit the whole city essentially. The other big one is the bridge. It's not in the ward. I'm sure it's not the first ward. The old train bridge, CSX rail, right there area. I feel like there's been so many suggestions about how we can help these truckers avoid this. Keep happening. And being that Young Street is most of the first ward, there's a lot of room there. And we can put up the signs, or we can put up the warrant, whatever we can do to make sure it's not just happening. Because that bridge is strong, but it's not indestructible. Eventually, that sucker's coming down.
So just to kind of piggyback on that, you said that there's homes popping up, but nothing in the first ward. Are you familiar with the development at 72 East Niagara?
72 Sanger, I'm not. No, I'm not.
That's in the first ward.
Oh, the by Prescott Division there?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I do apologize. Yes.
Okay. And then are
As
you,
far as our entrance into the city, this is a major thoroughfare, just like Delaware.
and then are you familiar with the proposal for 250 East Niagara?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, so you may want to take a look at the December council meeting where David Pollock was here with a proposal to build at 250 East Niagara. What strengths do you think you can bring to the community and the council?
I can work well with the team. Like I said, I'm a board member of the Legion. We've had various projects as far as helping out with scholarships or vets in need, even people that are vets, family members. And I made sure I put my 2 cents in because these were projects worthwhile. Projects worth doing that benefit the city. And I can bring, like I said, people together, and I can also work with other people on their ideas.
I got a couple standards in here. I've just been kind of asking everybody to get engaged. One is, the process of it being temporary appointment until you have to run the special election. Have you put any thought into continuing it further? Sought the endorsement of local parties to get on a ballot, know that you have to create petitions and whatnot. If you follow up with that, do you have any intention of doing that and continuing on with that?
If appointed to this position, I absolutely would. Like, for your Republican.
Excellent. And the additional question, your thoughts on public safety, pandemic, kind of the way things have been going. We've been doing enough to protect our residents, protect the people in the area, doing too much, too little. What more we can do? Just kind of some of your thoughts on that perspective.
That is a loaded question, and there's a lot of things we could be doing. But I feel like we're doing enough as it is. The supply drop-offs, I think the high school, it's all steps in the right direction. As far as the debate between vaccination and not, it's not something I'm looking at. We'll get into as tinderbox thing. Personally, I've been through enough in my life, enough vaccinations. I was vaccinated against anthrax, H1N1, anything that you could think of. And though I wasn't given a choice, I knew it was the right thing. I come into contact with something like that, it's not gonna end well. This current pandemic, I don't think it's going to end. It's gonna be a long haul. Mask wearing, obviously important. Safety precautions, quarantine, also very important. I've been out for the past 2 days, showing neighbors and stuff like that. I made sure if I came up on the porch, I did wear masks. Mostly all of these, I didn't want to go anywhere with that, but it's gonna be a challenge. We didn't face for a while.
I guess just one more make point of you're a part of the Legion, actively involved with veterans, older ones, younger ones. There's a lot of people who are presenting there. You feel you can bring more of that into the council, bring your participation in it. Be a voice or an open line of communication with that. I think there's a lot of it. It's kind of great to see somebody have some interaction, have a direct contact with them. You foresee kind of carrying through with that, working with them, and if you have supporters of them.
They are more than willing to work with the city of Hank as well as first and foremost veterans, obviously in their organization, but they have no problem working together with all of them.
I have to say, going forward is coming back to get me again. I've written down a question for you, for a different question, that was, what makes you the best candidate? So I'd like to thank Mr. Nocera for asking that. 15 minutes ago. And I was gonna ask another question about veteran representation. So thanks, Mr. Armstrong. I'm not good at coming up with something off the top of my head, so I'm not gonna waste your time, but I would like to say thank you for coming. Thank you for throwing your hat into the ring. And thank you for your service. I've been doing a lot of work with some members of the VFW. It's absolutely rewarding, and I think having a veteran voice on this work with. So thank you for coming out, and I'm going to leave it at that. So I repeat 6 or 7.
Do you have any closing thoughts, comments, questions?
I do. I think another big reason I would be a great fit for this council is I'm 33 years old. I have the youth on my side. I have a different perspective. And I know recently you had lunch with the new mayor, Untitled, so you know there's value in our ideas. Granted, we may not have some of the best ones being on your plate. Moving forward, especially like I said, if we're going to develop something on Young Street or try to make something happen, I feel like I would definitely come up with an idea. Put it that way. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Nadell. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming out. We're giving everybody 20 minutes. You know, use the time if you need it, if not. Do you know everybody up here?
Yes,
Okay. So the floor,
I'm sure you all know me too.
yeah.
So I'm probably the least.
David, I can't answer it, ask you any questions, but you please stay close to the mic.
Is that better?
Perfect, because we'll hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, my name is David Dell, except for the first 2 years of my life when I lived at Quantico Naval Base where I live. I've been a lifelong resident of the city of Colorado. I lived in the 3rd ward growing up on Pleasure and Fuller, and then moved down to Gastown, Family Homestead area, which is the 1st ward. I only left to go to college and I came back. I've been involved in this community in many, many ways. I'm currently still involved. I'm the committee chairman of our Boy Scout Troop 600 and committee chairman of our Fire Explorer Post 15. I've worked the last 18 years as a park attendant harbor master down on our canal, being an ambassador of the city to all those who travel through. Constantly around. One of the biggest things is I've been a teacher and coach, teaching for the last 22 years in our school district, coaching for 20 years, and I gave it up to be a father. But my daughter got to the age where she was doing things, and I have yet to get back into coaching, but maybe someday, who knows? Not sure I wanted the opportunity, and it was there, and him and I always think, is that the right thing? And I decided that, yeah, I've always wanted to get back. I'm an Eagle Scout. I got a lot of used to scouting that, you know, leave things better than what you found when you go trace. Do your best to help others. And I was looking at it and I'm like, that's basically what this is. It's a chance to step in and help in a time when, you know, not that anyone's doing anything wrong or whatever, but if you feel that you need the help, you need to step up and help. Otherwise, you won't have the same. So that's me in a nutshell. I think most of you know me well enough that I don't need to my life story, but
One of the questions that I'm asking each of the candidates, and I know we kind of sound repetitive because we're asking similar questions too. But what do you think the biggest challenge that faces the first ward is? And how will you handle that challenge?
I think it's kind of like a lost gem down there. And we're not in the main thoroughfare through, and we have an entrance into the city coming from the other side, it's not developed. I think we need to get the residents to feel like they are part of the city and ownership and get their ideas and get the communication going to see what they want. I mean, we have a gem with the Niagara River and the canal that we should be pulling revenue and things off of that all the time. And in my last 18 years as a harbor master, just talking to voters, we have a lot of stuff we're already stepping in the right direction. There are things we could be doing even more. And same with the residents, there are things we could be doing in our area to get them more involved and see what their interests are. And if they have ownership and pride, they're gonna do better, they're gonna perform better, they're gonna make our city better because they'll be more committed to.
Maybe I'll go down.
Questions.
So I guess I'm just gonna say, why now? What made this point in time to jump in? And, you know, like I said earlier tonight, that in the past, it's been difficult to find somebody to run, find somebody to, we have many unemployed races. So what makes you jump in now at this time?
Couple things. One of the things is you gotta be a little leery of the, pardon my French, but the bullcrap that goes on with politics. So you have to have a tough skin to deal with that and to decide that you really wanna subject yourself to that and your family. The other thing is, like I said, I was brought up through the scouting system and the values of scouting and helping others. And I'm at the point in my life now that I got more to give, more time to give. And most of you know that I had a traumatic experience this summer, an epiphany, so to speak, laying in a hospital for 14 days, kind of thing. And then when this happened, it's like, well, it's what you can show you give. You know, and it's right in front of you now. Step up or, you know, step out of the way. And so I thought long and hard about it. And I finally, it's the right time for me, I think.
Just a couple of questions I keep asking. You're kind of lucky here being towards the end of it. You get the opportunity to go through something. So from your standpoint, given that this is an appointed position until the special election, do you have intentions to continue it on in November? Have you sought any kind of endorsement to run again for the November election, knowing that you have to do petitions and all that sort of thing?
I have not yet sought endorsements. We haven't put the cart before the horse. It's definitely on the plan and the radar. For any of you that know me, you know I don't go far away into something. I go all out, and I always have. I started the harbor 18 years ago, and I'm still there. You know, it's not something, you know. So when I like to compare it to a great bacon and egg breakfast. Chicken's involved in breakfast. Tastes good. I'm a pig.
Nice analogy.
And then just the additional question too is, you know, your thoughts or perspective on the public safety in regards to pandemic and COVID and what we're dealing with now. If we're handling it well, to do more, to do less, and just your thoughts on public safety in general.
I think as a common council, it's our job to listen to the experts. They're in the trenches every day. They're getting more up-to-date information than we are. So we need to take their feedback, their advice, and run with that. I think we're doing a decent job. You can always do better, and that's what you have to look at. All right, we did this. Similar to coaching. You want to play? Well, it didn't work. What am I going to do now? How am I going to adjust? Okay, same thing here. Your experts are saying this, and so we're doing it. It's working. We're going to stay with it. If it's not working out, we got to back up a step, figure it out again, and go through that.
Thank you.
What strengths can you bring to the community and the council if appointed?
I believe I have a great network. I've worked at the Jim Kelly camp for 20 years, so I have a network of over 750 coaches who span the country. Through my scouting adventures, I have friends who I work camp with who are now all over the country. So I can easily pick up the phone, go on Facebook, email them for advice and what is your group doing for this? What your ideas? Sometimes the simple idea is overlooked because you've got X, Y, and Z in front of you, and you have this K, there's an idea that you didn't think of, and it might start the ball rolling, and you go from there. So I think I bring that asset of networking with me.
Thank you.
So you mentioned earlier about the residents in the first ward taking a little more ownership and pride in being residents or citizens in the city of Tonawanda. So do you have any ideas on how to accomplish that goal? What would you like to do? What would you like to see down the road going on in the first ward that the residents would take a little bit more ownership of the city and their pride in the community?
Not 100% certain right now. A lot of that would depend on the feedback from the residents, what they're willing to take ownership of it do. One of the things that I would love to see is dressing up part of the Canal Harbor area. There's absolutely nothing there that, like, I've always been pictured on the bridge, the overpass there, a big old mural, welcome to the city of Tonawanda. There's the voters that are coming out of town. There's really no welcome sign. Something like that, welcome to the first ward, welcome to Gastown. Those are things that you can embrace and build up. Beautification of the city. You can throw pride in your little street, and it gets infectious. Suddenly your street's doing this, and the next street over is going to do it, and they're going to improve it. It's throwing a couple into the pond. It's that ripple effect.
Going back on your working career, what would you consider maybe one or two of your best accomplishments that you've accomplished in your working career? You can go back, think about maybe at a time that you had to work with some youths or something, and they were maybe tough nut to crack, and reached out and accomplished what your goal was.
I've been a teacher in the city of Tonawanda for 22 years, but I've been teaching for 35 years through scouts and working at scout camp. And one of the greatest achievements is dealing with handicapped and challenged individuals, whether it's a mental disability or physical disability or whatever. For them to get an aha moment and see them succeed at the simplest thing, whether you modify something for them so they can do it. I'm thinking specifically of, I've done the waterfront at scout camps last year, and for years before that, we had a couple of individuals that really couldn't swim and they were terrified of water. And getting them just to get in the water was a huge goal. And then by the end of the week, they were willingly going in the water and actually starting to develop a little confidence in themselves. That to me is huge, because that's a life skill for further, later in life.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
I had one more thought, just in relation to what you were saying, and probably should have asked more. With regards to what's happening on Young Street, the proposed development for Truba. I guess what are your thoughts on how that's going to affect the city? Possibly some resistance from the neighbors that are in that general area. Do you think? What are your thoughts on the benefits of the city? Since I've been on the council, I've seen the talk over not Spalding, but Little League and that coming in. Was also on the council when they talked about the Tim Hortons and there was some destruction. Do you think that's something that you, as being a representative of the first ward, can kind of work people and kind of help people come to an agreement and a compromise for the betterment of the city is in its entirety?
I certainly believe so. I don't know if you're familiar with the situation we had about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, with the small stadium.
Yeah.
I was a big proponent of moving that for the benefits, and I've been around to all 4 fire halls for their meeting. I went to a bunch of other community groups and laid out the X's and O's, and look, it's going to cost us $1.6 million to repair the current stadium. It's going to cost us $1.2 million to build a new stadium up here. you know, I understand the tradition. I understand, you know, and all this, having played in the old Clinton Small Stadium, having coached in the old Clinton Small Stadium, I understand that. And I can understand where you're coming from. But I'm telling you, as someone who's played and coached there, this is the best thing for our student athletes, you know, so I have a little experience in that, and if it's for the betterment of the city, sometimes you have to swallow your pride a little bit and say, yeah, you know, you're right, it is better for the city. I may not totally agree with it. You know, I mean, the resident might not totally agree with it, but you lay out the facts and say, look, it's gonna improve the day condition, it's gonna improve our tax base, it's gonna improve, you know, so we can go on from there.
Any other questions? No other questions? Do you have any questions for us, comments, feedback?
Not really. I've done a little research and I have, you know, asking people, you know, like I said, it was positive choice to decide. And I've done my due diligence to make that decision, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out, and we appreciate you taking your time out.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you so much. That's Yolka. Thank you for coming. Hi, how are you? Good. So just so you know, we're giving all the candidates each 20 minutes, okay? I appreciate you sending in your letter of interest to the council. Do you know everybody up here?
Dave, and Sean, and John, and Jenna, and I met Carl once, I believe, I sat in the living room, and I was going to the Board of Education.
It's possible.
What's funny is I remember him.
In a good way?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sure we'll talk about it.
All right, so first, if you want to do a introduction and
Okay, so I'm Betsy Olga, lifelong resident, went to Tonawanda, class 1995. Currently I teach, I'm actually teaching 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade social studies. What I signed up for. I spend most of my time with my 10-year-old nephew, which is interesting, but he's currently at my house because his mom has positive for COVID. So that's what I do. Most of my time is spent with him. I'm not as involved as I used to be 10, 11 years ago. Bits and pieces. I don't really know much about what's going on in the city at this point, except for what's happening in Gastown. So I do pay attention to what's happening in my neighborhood. I thought I had a parking lot at Eastern Park, but I come to find out it's a basketball court. So that was much more exciting than a parking lot in the middle of the park. In the past, I've been a board member. I coached softball, soccer, ran the PTSA. I did run the house league for the soccer. Worked under Linda Coates for 13 summers, which was awesome. Taught softball through her program as well. That's all I have to say right now. So.
Jermala, you want to start?
First one is, what made you want to do this now? Basically, I kind of boil it down to why now, why?
I'm going to do that first.
Sure. Yep.
So why now? I really love the idea of Tom's wife filling his seat. So when I heard that wasn't going to happen, I was friends with, I'm friends with Tom on Facebook, so I kind of saw what was happening. And I can't believe someone found an article that that's the precedence that was set. So I thought that was pretty cool. When I read her comments as to why she wasn't going to take it, I guess my concern was that nobody would come out. So I sat and I debated, do I really want to get involved? Because it's not always fun. It's not always fun to be sitting in any of these seats that people hold you accountable. So right now, I believe there's 3 projects potentially happening in Gastown. So for me, I didn't even know the park was being changed. I didn't know we were having all that done. So I'm one of those who say, I would like to have more communication, especially with Fillmore. And again, I don't live right across the street, but I think people do need to know what's happening. And I can't recall that there's ever been anyone from Gastown to sit in that seat. And part of it is it's such a small little district that it's hard to win that seat for somebody who does run a Gastown. So right now, I didn't want one person to come up here, send in a letter and be appointed because that's all you had an option. I do think I'm maybe overly qualified to sit in that seat because I am familiar with the budget. I am familiar with, how to be polite to people. I know how to be rude to people too, but when you're sitting up there, you gotta be polite, I know how to communicate. I know most of Gastown, either side of the tracks. So it makes it easier when you know your neighbors. And like I said, I didn't want one person to be appointed because you didn't have another option. So realistically, like I said, I didn't jump the gun and be like, I'm just gonna do it. No, I did think it through, and like I said, there's some changes happening in Gastown, and as we all know, change is not something people like in the city, but I think if you approach it in the correct way, like the informative way, everyone's not gonna like it, but I think if we can communicate and give the perspective that people can, kind of take comfort in, I think I can actually do that for my work.
I do have to say too,
Oh my gosh. They're my favorite, I have to tell you. They love me.
They get a little
They hug me,
squirrely.
it's fun times.
It gets squirrely in seventh grade, I think that's seventh grade. So the other question is, this job, I kind of found this when I first got elected, that the learning curve is straight up. And you're kind of coming into, it'll be 2 months possibly to a term. So how do you plan on overcoming that straight up?
I think I'm kind of there. Like I said, this is not much different than the board. The only difference that I can recall is you guys don't follow Robert's rules. Where we have to follow Robert's rules, you don't have that in your charters. So really, that's the only difference. Your meeting back there is the most fun part. Like up here, it's just a straight up, we're gonna vote. We're gonna have comments. But the paperwork, I'm familiar with all that. I mean, I had to obviously sit and prepare budgets throughout the board process. I am that person that I probably still have some of that stuff, but I'll give you an example of who I am. There was a time that the city wanted to have those camera lights put in. So I came up here, and I sat in that office over there, and I'm just me, I was just sitting there, but it made me nervous because there's been some controversy. So I go through that, and I put Post-its on my house. Never did get a response, but I can tell you that you guys did not. It wasn't this council, just to make that clear.
I was here.
You were here.
Yeah.
You guys didn't go through with it, but no one said why. So that's me. I'm very thorough. I think I've had a very diverse work experience, that I have a lot of knowledge and I'm thorough. I mean, that's really what's necessary. But if you don't know what you're looking at, then it does make it more difficult. But for financial, which is really a lot of what council does, is deal with the budget and approve expenditures, approve RFPs, that kind of stuff. I'm familiar with all that. So I think that's probably the biggest asset, is that I'm already there. I'm past that learning curve. Obviously, working with you guys would be slightly different, so you learn to do that. And again, there's those small things, but I've sat in this room so many times that I do know how it functions. You know what I mean? I know when you're quiet and I know when you're not. So I think that, like I said, my learning curve is going to be a shorter time period than probably most people.
That was the Red Flex project from, I think it was 14 or 15. that you're
Like I said, I
referencing.
remember sitting in there, and I don't know if Sam was still here at the time. Might have been Sam. Definitely wasn't Chuck. I don't remember who was before Chuck. But anyways, I remember reading it, posted. something raised the flag.
What strengths can you bring to the community and the council if appointed?
Well, I'm pretty outspoken, which can be bad, absolutely, but the good part is that it doesn't prohibit me from going door to door, having those, that's what I think. For me, I like face to face. I don't do text. It's too much time standing at your door. I think I tend to make people feel comfortable. So that's definitely a strength. I don't know how to do this without being arrogant, because I don't think I'm arrogant, but I am pretty well educated to be able to communicate with any level of an individual. That's not supposed to be insulting. It's just how it is. There's some people will understand no matter how I put it. Other people may need more information. So I'm pretty good as a teacher. I mean, I do it every day. My seventh grade class, they're learning disabled, but like they're the best time of the day. But again, I have to do my curriculum kind of on a more basic level, where my 8th grade class, my 9th grade, my 10th grade, I can go on a higher level with them. So I think that's probably my best strength. I know a lot of people. I've been here a long time, and probably most of your candidates have worked here a long time. I kind of take pride in being from Gastown and making it a point to know my neighbors, being part of the PTA, being part of the board. I've met so many people that my reach is a little farther. I think that's a strength as well.
Go ahead, Sean.
Kind of answered them in the question, in your letter, and kind of spoke to it before we talked in past.
Yeah.
But the first question they've been asking everybody is your intention to take it further after special elections. Is this, you feel it's a placeholder, something you can fill in and fill a gap in the meantime? Or do you have intention of going further?
No, I actually would say straight out, I'm not interested in running in November. I think that, going back to what Jenna said, that's the strength right now that I bring, is I'm not interested. And, I think the awesome part is I don't have to focus on that. You know what I mean? You just do what you have to do. And I know I've sat in that. You make people mad, they don't vote for you. And I don't mean to be like, I don't know the word, but I won't have to care about all that. It's really what is best for the city. And that's subjective, obviously. Is it better for the view? Is it better for the budget? Why is it better? I think it makes my life easier knowing I have no desire to run in November, because then I can really not have that as part of my thought process, where somebody who wants to run, they're going to be spending all their time running. You get what, petitions, February?
Yep.
We're talking a half a month away. I'm not interested. So I would like to, if I am appointed, just sit there, do what I can to get us through this year and do right for the first word.
Thank you.
Just to ask everybody, like, I kind of get your perspective, you're teaching and field safe benefits. Just in regards to public safety, in regards to the pandemic, what we're going to just kind of your perspective on it.
So my perspective of how the city of Tonawanda, I'm like partially deaf, so I'm trying to do your list.
And I'm very.
It's not happening.
I get told every council meeting at home, so. Just what your perspective is on how it's been handled here, and nationally, or even countywide. If you are comfortable with the way things are going, too much, too little, if we've been doing the best we can do, if we could do more.
So it's interesting, because I work in Niagara County. And I live here. I think that as far as I can tell, first of all, the city of Tonawanda has nothing to do with any of this, except for like your council meetings, or, you have to follow the guidelines. So I actually had a conversation with the nurse today who was very frustrated because she's working with COVID positives, because they're so short, because the CDC lowered the quarantine to 5 days. But I think that's the nature of the beast. It's something we don't know anything about this. We don't know anything about this. They, as a virologist, I trust what they're doing. You have to trust. I watched the World Health Organization video today. There is not 40% vaccinated in the world. So the United States, I think we're doing better than other places. Erie County, I'm okay with it. I mean, I wear a mask every day to school. I do. I don't care. Walk in, it's normal. I don't have kids. Biggest issue with kids is this nose piece. It doesn't hold. So my nephew, he's like biting holes in it and it's falling down and, you know, you do what you can do. So I believe this virus is going to keep changing. I believe that the guidelines are going to keep changing. And I believe that you do what you can to protect the majority. You know, there's always going to be individuals that don't buy into it, that don't want to wear the mask. I don't want to wear the mask either, but if I'm going to protect my neighbor over there, I'm going to wear the mask. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm okay with whatever the experts are telling me. Sure, I can question it all day long, but I still need to walk in the store and I got to wear my mask. If I want to go to work, I'm going to wear my mask. And it makes people feel comfortable. And I'm okay with that. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Absolutely.
okay.
Thank you.
So I have a question. Actually, two. So you've already stated that you do not want to seek election in November. So if you are the person to fill the seat, what would you like to see done during your tenure? What would you do?
I want to make sure that, and obviously the first ward is much greater than Gastown. I want to make sure whatever you guys are doing in Gastown, the neighbors are communicated with, that we're not just doing things to bring money in. It is about money, but there's certain ways we can do this so we don't impact the immediate residents. Or if we do impact them, we give them a heads up. Like I said, I didn't know we were getting a new playground. I didn't know I was getting a new basketball court, and I do say because that's my park. It's everybody's park. I would like to be able to communicate with the residents, whatever is gonna happen. And there's been talk for years about the property where the football clinic is. If there's gonna be a development there, I think people need a way heads up, and I think that we need to make sure that if we do that, all of our, you know, our, however you say, the letters are dotted and crossed. To make sure, I 8 years, it's a long time for Little League to still not be done, right? So in my head, I think, do we fall into a situation that this project moves forward? Is that now in limbo for 8 years? I hope not. Maybe if I am sitting there, I can maybe fill in the gaps that I don't know what the holdup is at Little League, and I don't know. I have to be honest, I really don't know much. I just hear of Karuba, and I hear of plans that are affecting my immediate neighborhood. So I would like, and a year is not a long time, but it could be the year where all these things transpire in that 6 month, 7 month period. That's my plan, is to make sure that that area is looked out for, but also the city is looked out for. There has to be a balance in between. So if these things are coming in for the money, because we need the money, everybody knows that. But there's also people that live here. So there has to be this balance. I hope to be able to figure out, with the help of obviously you guys, what is that balance?
Thank you.
I actually want a splash pad, but they put a basketball court where I want the splash pad. So I kind of, that one's gone. We got trees, we got basketball court. There's no splash pad. If you would have asked me that question 10 years ago, I would have told you I want a splash pad. It's still in the back of my head, but it won't be in the first word. I don't think.
Oh, you said you had 2 questions.
Yeah, and she actually gave an example of what she would like to see, and that was the splash pad, more communication, which follows along.
Listen, I have like a whole, it's not just a splash pad, it's like diving boards and soft entry and, Jen, I don't know if you remember, but
You did a drawing, yes.
Yeah, the whole thing. Someday, maybe when I'm retired, we'll see it come to fruition.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for us? Any closing thoughts, comments,
No,
feedback?
but it's nice to see everybody like face to face. And John, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be standing here. Like I said, this is all new. I haven't seen any of this. I've not, 10 years it's been, maybe 11. My nephew's 10 now. So probably 11 years since I've walked. And I didn't go to court, so 11 years since I've been in this room. So no, I don't have anything, but it's nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to come out.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes our interviews for today, for tonight. Council. 27. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Anything else? All right. What?
I think we've got a very tough decision.
I do too. All right, with that said, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mylum. All those in favor? Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Have a great night. Hmm?